first video of this series we saw our hero Park Sejun, who is a farmer in the tower, but his profession is unique as is his story. When 10 years ago the towers appeared in 100 cities throughout the world, no one had any idea about them, but when people came out of them they told everyone that they could hunt monsters and gain riches inside the tower. Everyone set out to buy tickets that allowed ordinary people to go into the towers. Sejun was also saving money for this, but he was too far away from the required amount. But suddenly after the vanishing, a portal that had sucked in the first generation of the awakened appeared behind him. Sejun is excited, but the portal does not take him and starts shrinking, so Sejun jumps inside the portal to enter the tower. And he finds himself in a strange cave that is not on the first floor of the tower. He had some vegetables with him and Sejun decided to sow them to grow his food and survive, but soon a rare event called Blue Moon occurs and Sejun spots a dragon that is actually the manager of the tower who came to survey him. Sejun fainted, but when he woke up he found his green onion plants had grown to ridiculous size. Soon he made friends with a couple of rabbits who started living with him and helping him out with farming activities. For some time the green onion leaves were their only food. Moreover, they could be used as fabric and firewood, but after discovering fire Sejun used it to hunt fish from a pond in his cave. The rabbits give birth to babies and at the same time the tomato plants start to flower, but after a horrible blue moon night passes and Sejun almost gets caught by a monster, they find a surprise. A tomato was ripe now, but it was nothing ordinary. It was a blue tomato containing the energy of the blue moon. And just as Sejun harvests it, the manager of the tower contacts him and awakens him, but his class is neither a warrior nor a magician. It is the tower farmer class. Even though Sejun is frustrated and wants to throw it all away, he realizes that the farm was not just his but also that of his rabbit friends. He accepts being a farmer and the manager has a quest for Sejun right away. It asks Sejun to give it the blue tomato in exchange for a job-related skill. But the penalty for refusing the quest is death. Sejun is shocked when he reads that the penalty for refusing the quest is death. In front of him the window was open and Sejun could still not believe that something so extreme was happening. He accuses the admin of blackmailing him and using the name of a quest to justify his actions. Sejun tells the admin that if he wants it he should ask for it properly. If he played dirty games like this and made it look like he was giving Sejun options that would not be good. Sejun is a bit relieved after venting his anger, but he says that how worthless was his life to the admin if it would kill him just for not giving up one tomato. But even then the penalty of death cannot make him any braver. He gives up and offers the blue tomato to the administrator, who asks to spare his life. The tomato in Sejun's hands vanishes and receives the message that he has completed the quest. The next window has the quest reward and Sejun is excited to get the reward. He knew it was a job-related skill, but since he was focusing solely on the death penalty he forgot about it for a moment. Sejun flatters the tower manager and calls him generous. Then he decides to check what kind of skill he has and opens the quest reward. The reward is the skill sowing at level 1. It slightly increases the probability of germination when a seed is planted. Sejun does not understand how to react, but he sure is disappointed. But then he consoles himself by saying that since his job was as a tower farmer he could not expect much from the reward anyway. He goes to the dark parts of the cave with a torch and a fish jumps out towards the flame. Sejun uses a club made of green onion stems and leaves to hit it towards the land. The fish dies and Sejun learns that it was a piranha. He had killed a piranha and the information window tells him that he got 2 experience points for it. This was the 5th fish Sejun had caught, and with that he now had 10 experience points. After awakening as a farmer Sejun was able to collect experience points and he caught several piranhas every day for several days and reached level 2. He wants to catch more of them, but it is clearly a bad idea. He thinks he should not kill a living thing without reason. Besides, he got valuable protein from the fish. If he killed all of them and their population went extinct he would not be able to eat them again. Sejun roasts the fish and calls his friends to eat, and the baby rabbits are much more hungry than their parents. They run towards Sejun, who was their human uncle, and he gives them fish and onion leaves. They had grown a little and started eating a lot more compared to before. Sejun asks them to leave some food for their mom and dad as well. There was another benefit Sejun got from awakening. He could get information about the rabbits. He gives them their share and the rabbits Happily take it they were farmer white rabbits, and Sejun had a few ideas about how they ended up with him. They were a type of monster he had never heard of outside the tower based on their name Sejun. Real is that they specialize in farming and not fighting. He thinks that this must be the reason they were not known. The rabbits start flirting as they eat, and as Sejun watches them he wonders what happened to them, but he assumes that they must have lost their farms, and after wandering for some time, they found this cave in him. He wants to know if the rabbits have a hometown to return to, but he can't understand them and neither can they understand him beyond basic farming terminology. Sejun tells this to the husband rabbit, saying that he wishes they could understand each other, but he does not understand human speech either and is confused. But now that they are done eating, Sejun says that they should head back to the farm. Today is an important day for all of them, and the husband rabbit is also excited. They reach the farm to find the cherry tomatoes perfectly ripe. Sejun is amazed to see them. They were even better than the tomatoes he brought with him. The rabbits are also pleased to see the red tomato fruits. Sejun gets sentimental as he says that now is the time to harvest them. They had worked so hard to grow them. They had harvested one after the blue moon, but it didn't count. Sejun is nervous as he goes to harvest the first tomato. His hand is trembling and the rabbits are watching him anxiously too, but Sejun picks up a fruit which easily separates from the branch. He exclaims that this was his first cherry tomato, and it had ripened so well. The tomatoes bring more good news with them. Sejun sees information windows telling him that he had harvested a well-ripe magical cherry tomato and he would receive 10 experience points for it. Sejun is surprised to learn that these tomatoes were also magical, just like the blue tomato. He reads their information and finds that when consumed this tomato decomposes 10 grams of fat and increases 0.1 MP for 10 minutes. The MP effect could be stacked up to 10 times and the maximum time limit for that would be 1 hour. Although this information is Sejun's name is the cultivator of the tomato, and it is also mentioned that it was an E-grade item whose shelf life was 30 days. Sejun is impressed that even though the effect of one tomato was quite small, if 10 of them were eaten together they could boost them p by 1. He wonders if other tomatoes are also the same, and sets out to harvest them. He harvests the tomato and it is also a ripe magical cherry tomato, as is the next one after that, but then he harvests an unripe magical cherry tomato and only gets 7 experience points for it. Sejun is taken aback that he made a mistake, but he still got 7 experience points, and when he harvested an unripe fruit it was not an item anymore, it was back to being a normal tomato. Sejun now understands that he must take care to harvest only the well-ripe fruits. To get them as an item it is harder than he thinks, but Sejun keeps it up and his level increases. He is already level 4 and Sejun thinks he has harvested enough crops for the day. He takes a tomato and says that he should have a taste, but the rabbits are stomping their feet aggressively and Sejun looks at them. They are angry and he apologizes. Sejun offers the tomatoes to them and had achieved this together, so they should reap the rewards together too, but the husband rabbit is furious even as he picks up a tomato. Sejun says that they should celebrate the successful harvest and everyone should eat, and when Sejun eats the tomato his mind is blown. He thinks that he is lying on soft green grass looking up at the clear night sky, and then suddenly a flare flies into the sky and explodes a firework. Sejun gets up and looks at it with his mouth open. The fresh scent of grass and the sweet and sour taste of the tomato mix with that scent. Sejun feels that this feeling is similar to the fireworks in the middle of a summer festival. Sejun sheds a tear of joy as he remembers the summer and feels it in the tomato. The wife rabbit asks her husband if he knew what Sejun was saying and he has no idea. The rabbits take the remaining tomatoes and store them in a makeshift storage facility. They cover the tomatoes with onion leaves and Sejun is lying down and watching them. He thinks that the rabbit kids are now big enough to help their parents. He is ready to sleep on mattresses and with an eye mask, both made of onion leaves. Sejun says that they were indeed the children of farmers rabbit Sejunians, and says that he should go to sleep now as he is feeling sleepy. And he is sure that when he wakes up tomorrow another wonderful day will greet him. Sejun lays down and immediately begins to snore, but then a quest is issued for him. He must offer 100 magical cherry tomatoes to the tower manager. The reward was a job-related skill and the penalty was the same as before, death, but Sejun is really asleep and does not notice the window, but then it suddenly starts ringing loudly like an alarm, and Sejun is forcibly woken up. He offers 100 tomatoes to the manager in frustration and the manager is satisfied. It gives Sejun the reward for the quest. Sejun says that the manager was forcing him to do things and he better give him something more useful this time. As he opens the quest reward, Sejun finds that he has received the skill harvest at level 1. It enabled him to obtain harvested crops in optimum condition even if they were slightly overripe or underripe. Sejun is disappointed and asks why he needs a harvesting skill. That is what he thought initially, but it was much more useful than in the previous skill. Sejun admits to this as he harvests tomatoes with his husband's rabbit. Whenever he harvests slightly overripe or underripe tomatoes on effect activates and they are perfected to their optimum condition. As he does that, the proficiency of the harvest skill increases along with Sejun's experience points. He says that since he did not have to wait for the cherry tomatoes to ripen, it was easier and faster for him. They have finished harvesting and Sejun tells the husband rabbit that they should take the rest of the harvest home, but just then, he gets another quest. Sejun was also anticipating it, but he was not expecting the quest to have no reward. Sejun calls the manager a thief for giving no reward, but since his last reward helped him significantly, Sejun can give him at least that much as he offered the tomatoes to the manager. The husband was shocked, but Sejun did not know that he was entering a vicious cycle. The manager issued the quests again and again, but they kept increasing in demand. It was getting greedier. Without an end in sight, the required number of tomatoes keeps on increasing and finally the manager reaches new heights of shamelessness. The new quest is triggered and Sejun has to offer 500 tomatoes to the manager for no reward, and yet the penalty for refusing is death. Sejun is really flipped now and he clearly refuses to comply, and the manager of the tower is surprised. This was yet another entry in Sejun's diary about getting lost in the tower. This was the first time he stood up to the greedy manager, but after calmly refusing, Sejun throws a tantrum. He says that the manager had already taken hundreds of tomatoes. The manager had already taken hundreds of tomatoes. He needed to eat too, and so did the rabbits, but the tower manager replies that it was the farmer's problem and not his. If you tell Sejun to stop protesting and give him the cherry tomatoes, but this irritates Sejun even more. He says that he worked hard for days and suffered a lot to harvest those tomatoes. The tower master still insists that Sejun's job was as simple as sowing the seeds. It asks him not to overreact over something that is not a big deal, and this is where the tower manager crosses the line. Sejun says that he is not giving anything to the manager because he doesn't want to. The tower manager is flustered, but Sejun ignores his messages. He keeps on harvesting onions as the manager asks if he really wants to refuse. It says that Sejun could die, but the latter is busy cooking fish, and even when it emphasizes death, Sejun replies that he was not going to give his crops to someone who didn't value his hard work, but the tower manager says that it was Sejun's job and since the manager was his superior he should listen to his orders. Sejun replies that this was the reason he was not giving the tomatoes. The manager forcibly made him do this and did not even appreciate his efforts. Moreover, the compensation for the exploitation was also too low, and since it was the manager of the tower, this proved that it was a bad employer. Sejun's words and the hurt in his eyes shocked the tower manager. It did not realize this before and tried to apologize, but Sejun is eating the tomatoes while teasing them and the manager gets angry. It tells said that it was angry because he ate the tomatoes himself. The manager threatens to kill Sejun on the spot if he doesn't complete the request, but Sejun acts like the manager is no big deal and gives him just 5 tomatoes. He says that he will give the rest later since he needs them to feed the kids too. Behind him, 2 baby rabbits are fighting for a tomato. As their father tries to calm them, the tomato vanishes and the tower manager says that it will compromise this time. Sejun thanks him and the message window vanishes. He laughs to himself, realizing that the manager was about to say sorry just now, but then he says out loud that the tower manager was simpler than he thought. It is now the 91st day and the 4th blue moon event happens. Sejun is sitting in a dark corner eating the cherry tomatoes. He had heard that people with high MP could endure the roars of monsters to a certain level, and that is why he was eating the tomatoes, but he still hopes that nothing like the last time happens again. As Sejun wishes for time to pass quickly, his plants begin to gleam in the blue light. Sejun realizes what is going on as the energy of the light enters a tomato and it turns blue. Sejun cannot wait to harvest it, but then he notices that the tomato plants are not the only ones getting blessed. Even the sweet potato leaves were getting illuminated. The desire to check on them overcomes Sejun and he walks towards his farm. He digs out the sweet potatoes with his bare hands and is amazed at the result. He had a blue sweet potato in his hand. It was filled with the energy of the blue moon, and when consumed it would increase one's strength by 0.5 points permanently. The system windows tell him that he harvested a sweet potato with the energy of the blue moon, due to which he gained a lot of experience. The proficiency of the skill harvest has also increased and now it will be leveled up. Sejun then looks at the blue tomato and harvests situ as he holds the sweet potato in one hand, and the tomato in the other. Sejun thinks that he is holding the world in his hands, but that happiness is soon disturbed by a quest Sejun was expecting, and there were not one but two quests. Sejun had to offer both the products imbued with the energy of the blue moon to the manager. There was no reward for either of the quests and the penalty was death. Sejun thinks that the manager was really pushing it with two quests at a time. If Sejun refused it might just kill him this time, but Sejun has a way to solve this issue. He offers 500 tomatoes to the manager, saying that he needs to complete the previous quest first. The manager quickly accepts the tomatoes and says that he is happy with the cherry tomatoes, but then it asks Sejun why he has not given the energy-filled crops to it already. Sejun apologizes for calling the manager simple earlier. He asks them to let this slide for today and promises to give them it later. The manager sighs and accepts this condition. Sejun then looks at the items in his hands and wonders what he should do with them, and that is not even a question. He tosses the blue tomato in his mouth and shudders. He could feel the summer festival and the fireworks in his mouth again, almost as if it were the first time he ate the tomatoes. The system window tells him that his MP has permanently increased by 0.5 due to eating the tomato, but then Sejun cannot hold on to his hunger and desire any longer. He wraps the sweet potato and onion leaves and throws it into the fire. He thinks it would be even better if he had tin foil with him, but the multi-purpose onion leaves were also good enough. Sejun is happy and says that the time spent waiting for delicious food is the happiest time. The blue moon passes and the rabbits also come out, and they all have questions for Sejun as they see him cooking something. He says that they had great timing. He was just about to call them. Sejun then excitedly says that he presents to them the sweet potato with the energy of the blue moon, and its delicious smell makes the rabbits drool. Sejun says that it was not much, but they should share it, but the husband rabbit stands in front of his family and stops them from taking up Sejun's offer. They are saddened as he tells them something, and Sejun realizes what the rabbit was saying. He wanted Sejun to eat the sweet potato himself as there was only one. Sejun is touched and thanks the husband rabbit for being the only one thinking about him, but even as Sejun accepts to eat the sweet potato alone, he is hiding the fact that he has already eaten it secretly before. Sejun peels the sweet potato and takes a bite, but it is too hot and he burns his tongue and spits out whatever he just bit in the sweet potato in his hand as Sejun screams about burning his tongue and scalding his palate. The rabbits are watching the sweet potato on the ground. The husband rabbit reaches down to grab a piece of the sweet potato, but his children swipe everything before him and then they eat it as their father watches, but it is too hot for them and they too spit it out. The baby rabbits start crying and the husband is dejected that he got nothing and that the sweet potato got wasted. And this is another entry in Sejun's diary. In the tower he ate a fiery meal today, a little too hot for his liking. A few days later Sejun is telling the baby rabbits that they are going to plant sweet potato sprouts from now on, but rabbits are confused and Sejun says that it was the thing they were eating right now. Sejun scolds them and says that the baby rabbits are prohibited from eating the sweet potato sprouts for the time being. These words come as a devastating shock to the rabbits. The sweet potato sprouts have been the favorite snacks of the baby rabbits lately and now they are trying to protest against Sejun's decision. All of them have different reactions to the order and Sejun says that no matter how they complain his decision is final. He thinks that there will be nothing left to plant if the babies keep on eating the sprouts. Sejun tries to convince the rabbits by saying that they will be having even better sweet potatoes for dinner, but if they helped him plant the sweet potato sprouts before that he would give them a special snack. Sejun had decided to expand the farm area to cultivate sweet potatoes and for that he needed the baby rabbits to cooperate with him. And as soon as he tells them about the special snacks they look at him with drooling mouths and gleaming eyes. Sejun tells them to start working and the rabbits carry the sprouts to plant them. Their mother is harvesting the green onions and Sejun asks her to leave one plant. He would then bloom a flower and Sejun could get seeds from it. He had reached the conclusion that he needed to plant a seed for something to become an item. After all, he had harvested green onions many times, but there was not a single one that was special in the newly expanded farm area. The Baby rabbits are hard at work. One of them digs holes and the other plants the sprouts in them, but in a corner one of the babies is too greedy to part with his favorite snack. He cannot control his urge and takes a bite of the leaf. Reacting to that, his father smacks him for doing something like that. Sejun is also harvesting the tomatoes and he gets a lot of messages from the tower system. He had a little bit of experience, but it was the final bit he needed to level up, and now that he had reached a designated level, he had ranked up from an F rank farmer to an E rank farmer. His job level has increased and his job characteristics will be strengthened. Because of this, Sejun is also glad to know that he has reached level 8, and to celebrate that he decides to make the snacks a bit earlier. He takes the cherry tomatoes and puts them on a skewer. At the same time, he gets a message from the tower manager. The manager was keeping an eye on Sejun and what he was going to cook today. The message disappears soon and Sejun thinks that this was quite a harmless action. He begins roasting the cherry tomatoes and then calls the rabbits to start eating. They leave their work and come running to him, and Sejun presents them with special roasted cherry tomatoes on bone skewers. The information window for the roasted tomatoes also opens. The skewer used by Sejun was made from cleaned piranha bones, and because of the cooking the tomatoes were softer and sweeter. The rabbits take a skewer each and they look really excited to eat it. Sejun tells them that it is easy to carry around and eat in this form, but he also warns them that it was quite hot and they should blow before eating it, but the rabbits are already enjoying it. Then he says that since the sweet potato sprouts were already planted, they should dig some sweet potatoes for dinner. As Sejun digs the sweet potatoes, he finds 5 sweet potatoes in a plant. He reads the information about them and they are called strength sweet potatoes. It had similar effects to the magical tomato, but with strength anyone who ate it would get an additional 0.1 strength for 10 minutes, and this effect could be stacked up to 10 times in an hour. The other effect was that it would break down 10 grams of fat and help with bowel movement, and this bonus would also apply to those who had not awakened yet. Sejun counts that he now has 15 sweet potatoes, which means he got 5 potatoes for each one he sowed, and that was pretty good for a first harvest. But then Sejun spots a fallen potato sprout. He plants it thinking it would be a waste to leave even a single sprout, but then he gets messages from the system saying that the proficiency of skill sowing is increasing. Because of this action, now Sejun realizes that even this qualifies as sowing, and he also realizes that he must plant all the sprouts himself to increase his skill level. Sejun asks the baby rabbits to stop in a hurry because now he wants to do it. Inside its office, the manager is trying to copy what Sejun just did. It has cherry tomatoes on a skewer and they are roasted over a fire. The manager eats the tomatoes and immediately spits some of them out since they are burned and bitter, but then it ponders what was wrong with its tomatoes. The humans seem to eat them fondly, and then the sweet taste of the tomatoes spreads through its mouth and the manager realizes how delicious they are. Now it uses the magic crystal ball to see what Sejun is doing right now, and when the manager finds him eating the sweet potatoes with the rabbits, he gets angry. It screams saying, "How could those punks start eating sweet potatoes without it? It was the Great Black Dragon alien Fritten." The manager sends a quest to Sejun immediately. He demands 1 roasted sweet potato. There are no rewards for this quest and the punishment for refusing is death. Sejun is not in a mood to do the quest and tells the manager to postpone it. The manager is shocked and says that he wants the sweet potatoes right now. If Sejun did not give them it, there would be consequences. Sejun says that there was only 1 sweet potato left. He asks the manager what it could offer in reward. The manager considers it for a while and then revises the quest. A reward is added for another job-related skill. Sejun thinks that this reward is good enough and offers the sweet potato to the manager. He opens the reward and finds that it is a level 1 seed store. When this skill was activated, Sejun could buy a product at the seed shop every 30 days. Sejun is overjoyed. A seed store meant that he could purchase things inside a tower that were similar to what other awakened had. He says that this was an amazing reward and the tower manager should have given it to him earlier. Sejun activates the skill and the seed store is opened. Before that, it checks the transaction history of Sejun and finds that there were no previous transactions, but thinking about the transactions, Sejun arrives at an important question: how should he make purchases when he has no money? But then he gets another message that the store will offer entry-level services to the customer. Sejun, he was the first rookie-tier customer at the seed store, and because of that he would get 1 tower coin that would be added to his account at the seed store. The tower coin appears in front of Sejun and he is shocked. He says that the seed store was the kindest and the best. The tower coin was a currency used inside the tower, but in the outside world the cost of each tower coin was 1,000,001. Sejun opens the seed store to see what he can buy there. The message window tells him that for rookie tear he could see 3 random types of seeds, and at his current level Sejun could only purchase one of them. The 3 types of seeds for this time are shown, and Sejun sees that he can buy 1,000 seeds of either red pepper, cabbage or carrots for a 0.1 tower coin each. Sejun thinks that the name seed store was quite fitting as it only had seeds, but then he looks at the price and thinks about the outside world's value of the tower coin. He was getting 1,000 seeds for 100,000 won, and that was very expensive. Sejun thinks about what he should choose. Red pepper and cabbage could be a good combo to make kimchi, but he could not buy them together, neither did he have the resources to process them here, and then the only thing left was carrots. As soon as he says carrots, the attention of all the rabbits turns to Sejun. Sejun asks them what is wrong, and the rabbits try to tell him that they want carrots. Sejun sees their excited expression and says carrots again, getting the same reaction as before. He is enjoying this a bit too much, and the husband rabbit kicks him in the face for wasting time. Sejun purchases the carrot seeds for 0.1 tower coin and gets 1 seed store mile. The mileage could be used to raise the level of his seed store, and he needed 100 points to get to the next level. Sejun gets the seeds in a fancy pouch and thinks that the pouch is more expensive than the seeds themselves, but then he sees a message from the manager saying that he is satisfied with Sejun's purchase. Sejun makes a face and asks why it's getting satisfied. This is another entry in his diary. Now he got carrot seeds by trading at the seed store. Sejun is excited to plant carrots, and so are the rabbits, but someone else is watching them from a distance. A large and cute bee is watching Sejun and the rabbits celebrate getting carrot seeds, and it seems like the bee also wants in. So guys, this video ends here. Please like it and tell us how the video was in the comments. Also don't forget to subscribe to our channel.